The Tucker Motor Company. Some of you may have never heard of this legendary company. However, if you are someone that has, you know that it was marred with controversy and ended in disaster. But there was a lot more behind the story that deserves to be brought to light, and that's what we'll be diving into today. As commonplace in America, corporations will have their way. Okay, hang on, sorry, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. After World War II, Americans were ready for new car designs, but the big three of Detroit automakers had not developed any new models since 1941 because their resources had been diverted towards producing war material. By the way, my first ever video on this channel was about the big three war effort, so go check it out if you'd like to learn more. This would open the door of opportunity for new, smaller car companies that could develop new cars quicker than the big three. That's when Tucker stepped onto the scene in 1948. The man behind the company would be none other than the innovative, legendary genius, Preston Tucker. He quickly made shockwaves for the entire industry, calling out companies with taglines like, "The first completely new car in 50 years, for his first and technically only model." We'll get to that shortly. Safety was another motivator for Preston Tucker. Some things include a perimeter frame surrounding the vehicle for crash protection, a roll bar was integrated into the roof, the steering box was behind the front axle to protect the driver in a front-end accident. Also, the instrument panel and all controls were within easy reach of the steering wheel, and the dashboard was padded for safety. The windshield was made of shatterproof glass and designed to pop out in a collision to protect occupants. And a cool feature was that the car's parking brake had a separate key so it could be locked in place to prevent theft. Yet, Kias are out here getting stolen with an aux cord? To prove the roadworthiness of his cars, Tucker and his engineers ran several cars at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and several endurance tests. During this testing, the car number 1027 was rolled 3 times at 95 miles per hour, and the driver walked away with just bruises. During the crash, the windshield popped out as designed, verifying Tucker's safety features were effective. Tucker envisioned several other innovations that were later abandoned. Magnesium wheels, fuel injection, and self-sealing tubeless tires were all evaluated or tested, but were dropped on the final prototype due to cost, engineering complexity, and the lack of time to develop. Yes, this man was testing fuel injection almost a decade before it came out in the Mercedes 300 SL. He channeled that visionary spirit with the hire of the talented designer Alex Sorrentos Tremulous, I think that's how you say it. Tremulous also had vast knowledge and experience with the automotive styling process. Tremulous revised the design of the Tucker Torpedo to create a great-looking automobile offering unique styling with the comfort and safety that many consumers sought. The new Tucker model offered many new safety features, including the Cyclops eye, which is located between the headlights. The new design elements pioneered by Tremulous made for a truly unique car that stood out against the competition. The car quickly became talk of the automotive industry. Tucker expanded, and honestly needed to in order to build such a groundbreaking car. They broke ground on a factory in Chicago, and some automotive historians have said that it was one of the largest factories in the world at the time. On March 9, 1948, the first completed Tucker automobile was ready for review during a stockholders meeting. Then, 3 days later, the second model was built and completed with a 353 engine. And 10 days later after that, a decision was made to purchase a company called Air-Cooled Motors for $1.8 million to secure the engine source. Then Tucker decided to cancel all of the company's aircraft contracts so its resources could be focused on making automotive engines. So Air-Cooled Motors would supply the 335 engine, which was a heavily modified airplane engine. It was tested at maximum power for 150 hours, the equivalent of 18,000 miles of full throttle. But the good times wouldn't last. One of Tucker's most innovative business ideas caused trouble for the company. His accessories program raised funds by selling accessories before the car was even in production. After the war, demand for new cars was greater than dealers could supply, and most dealers had waiting lists for new cars. Preference was given to returning veterans, which meant that non-veterans were bumped down the waiting list indefinitely. Tucker's program allowed potential buyers who purchased Tucker accessories to obtain a guaranteed spot on the Tucker dealer waiting list for a Tucker 48 car. But this concept was investigated by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and the United States Attorney, and led to an indictment of company executives. Although all charges were eventually dropped, the negative publicity destroyed the company and halted production of the car. Now, I'm not one to jump into theories, but it wouldn't shock me if the big three got a little jealous and and the government intervened, shutting Tucker down before he could really get off the ground. They saw this guy up and coming with very limited resources compared to them. It kind of makes sense to me. Again, I'm not saying that is what happened, but you have to remember these psychopaths will do anything to maintain power. Unfortunately, Tucker's suits for damages had totaled $19 million, which had created a very disappointing feeling and despair in Tucker's life. Tucker had said, quote, "My car was too good." After the demise of his automobile company, he took a job as a manager of a machine and tool firm. Then, the day after Christmas in 1956, Preston Tucker died of cancer at the age of 53. So, what do you think? Do you think the Big Three had a hand in taking down Tucker? Or was it just bad fate? Or something else? Regardless, Tucker will be remembered for his brave, pioneering vision, and that will forever echo through his cars that remain today. And with that, stay hydrated, take care of yourself and your loved ones, and peace.